I don't know if you saw, but news came out this past week that David, or should I say DeForvid, was buying chainsaws via Amazon. And that's part of the whole trial thing that's going on around him. I felt like we needed to bring this up because this is now a saga on the podcast.
Unfortunately, it is, and I hope he rots in prison. And it's also a saga because we often talk about bad Brandons, but now we have the very rare bad David.
That's a good point.
Which doesn't happen very often.
I feel like maybe we just don't talk about the bad Davids. I feel like Davids are like balanced. There's a lot of good ones, but then there's a lot of bad ones. Unfortunately, Brandon's out there. They're just like 99% of them are just pure evil. So,
but we don't like DeForvid.
The Davids have disowned him.
Exactly. That's why he has a 4 in his name.
Exactly.
I'm your co-host, Brandon, and with me, as always, is your other co-host,
David. The good David.
Maybe the best David, some would say.
I don't know about that.
We have a great episode for you today, I must say. This time last year, we watched a movie called Jurassic Park, and we listened to an album called Dangerous Woman by Ariana Grande. And this year, we thought we have to run it back. It's Memorial Day, and we have another Spielberg movie for you. Another classic Spielberg movie, another blockbuster, and we have an album that I would also consider a blockbuster because it did have a huge song on it. And just before we were recording, David said, I don't think I've heard anything from this album before. And I said, holy shit, we have a lot to talk about. And guess what? We do have a lot to talk about.
We do.
Because that is one of those moments. That's one of those Maroon 5 moments where David didn't really know who Maroon 5 was until like a few years ago.
Okay.
That's what you said.
I had heard a lot of their stuff just over the radio. I didn't necessarily realize that it was them, but I had heard them.
I don't know why I gave you an opportunity to defend yourself there, but you know what?
Thank you.
That's okay. I will freely admit that I played Lego Indiana Jones on the Wii when I was younger. Never seen any of the Indiana Jones movies. So
there we go.
I guess this is a learning experience for me too. But before we get to all of that, we have many other important things to talk about. And one of those is what David has watched in the past week.
I watched The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Oh.
This past week, yeah. I saw it, ironically, not on opening night, but Saturday. So it's second day in theaters. It kind of happened like spur of the moment. Jennifer and I were like, oh, we want to go watch something. What should we watch? And then we were like, oh, wow, yeah, this movie actually came out. So then we went and watched it. And it was fine. I really enjoyed the first movie. I think has a lot to say about the fashion industry. And obviously, there's iconic performances, iconic lines, iconic moments in it. And going into the second one, I was kind of like, what is the point? Like, are they going to have a story to tell? Honestly, I feel like the second one, it feels like a movie that was made so that a movie could be made versus a movie that needed to be made, That's not saying that, I'm not saying that it's like a bad movie. It's very enjoyable. It's still very fun, but it definitely feels like they were making it because they could versus because there was a need to make it. I guess their need was money. I also did want to say that, honestly, the character of Miranda Priestley felt like different. Like it didn't feel right.
Do you think this movie would have been improved if they had kept the 2-minute cameo from Sydney Sweeney?
Oh, I totally forgot about that. I don't think it would have made one difference. No, I'm not going to say that. I think that I have no idea. I am not going to wade into that, honestly. I will say there was a Lady Gaga cameo, which was a lot of fun.
She got like 3 songs on the soundtrack too.
Yeah.
None of them were that interesting, sadly.
Well, but she did like perform one of them in the movie too.
That's cool.
But I hope that you had a better time with whatever album or albums that you listened to this week.
I listened to a bunch this week and they all sucked, except for one that just came out. And it's an EP. Once again, EPs are like winning the year so far, weirdly. It's by a band that I've talked about on here before and talked about before on our TikTok series, which if you want to go watch that, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, link is in our link tree down below. Anyway, this band is called Junior Varsity, and they're amazing. And this EP is called Ready. David, it's number 1 right now on my list for the year.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Now, I have to tell you, it kind of sucks because it's 6 songs long, but actually there's only 5 songs because the first one is an intro and it's 13 minutes total across these 5.5 songs. 13 minutes for an EP. That sucks. All of these songs are super short. The one good thing is they end and you're like, I want to listen to that again, which I guess is the point of making making short songs in a short EP is like, so you can listen to it again.
True.
But it is kind of annoying because it's like, wow, I really wish there was just like, 1 extra minute on each of these songs. There's a few that are under 2 minutes too, which is like, wow.
That whole EP is like the first song on Prince's 1999 album.
Pretty much, yeah. And I think now is as good a time as any to tell you that Junior Varsity does have one Armenian member, so shout out Armenia.
Ooh,
you already mentioned Jennifer, so you beat me there. But yeah.
Fuck yeah. I really want to listen to them now, to the point where I kind of want it to remain your number 1 for the year, even though I want there to be more good stuff.
We will see, because there are a few other releases coming soon. Maybe next week too. I'm going to talk about it on next week's episode because there is one that I'm looking forward to next Friday. So that'll be fun.
Check out what we're going to be talking about next week on our Instagram. Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. Got to plug that. But on that note, we got to talk about an album here that maybe David has never heard a song from, which
probably,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
This is Clarity, the debut album by Zedd, released October 5th, 2012 by Interscope Records. There were 3 singles from this album. Shave It and Spectrum preceded its release, and the title track, Clarity, followed in November of 2012. And you told me last week, well, for months now that we've had this on the calendar, that you've never heard of Zedd and you've never heard any of these songs. So I'm going to ask you right now, have you heard of Zedd?
No, I've definitely never heard of Zedd.
Well, let me tell you about him. So Zedd is the stage name of Anton Zaslavsky, a German DJ and producer born in the Soviet Union and raised in a city I forgot to look up the pronunciation of once again, Kaiserslautern. I don't know if that's how you say it. I don't speak German, but shout out to him. As it says on his Wikipedia page, he is reportedly a classically trained pianist, but we'll talk about that more in a little bit. He played drums in a German death metal band with his older brother before getting into electronic music. He got to start making remixes, which was a common way to break in at the time, as we talked about in the Skrillex episode late last season. And Skrillex was actually one of the first big-name artists to support Zedd, having him remix his hit song, Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites.
Oh, wow.
He also remixed 2 tracks from Lady Gaga's album Born This Way, which is another fun connection, and we just talked about her earlier in this episode. And I asked you here, which I think I know the answer to now. You told me you've never heard anything from this album. Is that actually true?
Yeah, I don't think I have. I definitely...
Wild.
I could see me having heard something from this album and not realizing it. So I guess I haven't heard anything from this album consciously. I'll put it like that.
Oh, okay. Throughout 2011 and 2012, he released a few songs in the dominant styles of dance music at the time, electro house and complextro. Most of them were released on Skrillex's record label Ausla, including his signature song of this era, Shave It. Now, you may be wondering, isn't there a song called Shave It Up on this album? Well, you would be correct. I'm not really sure why this happened, but he reworked Shave It into the outro of Hourglass and added strings to the end of the new album version. So yes, technically the lead single of this album isn't on the album, but pieces of it are. In 2012, he signed with Interscope Records and put out what I would consider to be the lead single, Spectrum, featuring Matthew Koma. And now's a good time to talk about the relationship between Zedd and Matthew Koma, because they have quite a few collaborations throughout their careers. Zedd posted a commemorative anniversary tweet about Spectrum's release, which led to Matthew Koma levying a lot of accusations against Zedd, saying that he was toxic and stole credit for the parts that Koma contributed to their collaborations. He also said that Zedd can't actually play piano in any key other than C, which is of course all white keys, so it's hard to fuck up, but from what I understand, this is a misunderstanding. Changing the key of a song in dance music is very hard because the point of most of it is to be played on these massive sound stages, and certain keys just sound better because of the way the sound waves are shaped. And this also kind of leads to the fact that he's reportedly a classically trained pianist.
Interesting.
But getting back to the controversy, there seem to be two types of complaints in this letter, and I think one in particular is important to talk about. The first, which I'm not going to touch on much, is that maybe Zedd is a toxic person. Maybe they disagree as people. Zedd is German, and they're not the most warm and inviting people. I don't know. I was not there, so I'm not going to speculate.
Yeah.
But the second is the whole EDM machine vibe, which is unfortunately still going on today. The most important thing is getting your tracks released by labels, and labels dominate the EDM space. And we've talked about labels a lot on this podcast. They fucking suck most of the time.
Yeah.
Matthew Koma said that Zedd withheld credit and also didn't pay him for 2 to 3 years for his contributions. This is unfortunately a label problem, and it doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. And it crosses genres. Songwriters, particularly those who aren't singing on the song, have a terrible time being properly credited and compensated. And the fact that no one has done anything about it is insane.
Right.
I figured that that was important to cover, as it was a huge deal when the news dropped in 2019. I think that would be 7 years. Yes. So yeah, some of this stuff, I don't know for sure, but some of it is also like, it's a business and the business rips people off.
Yeah.
So, and that's not up to the artists all the time. The genres here are electro house, festival progressive house, also called progressive electro house, and complextro. What you need to know is that electro house is more rhythmic and abrasive, festival progressive house is melodic and huge, and complextro is like if dubstep was house music. We talked about that briefly on Skrillex's EP as well. And I will mention the different genres on some of the tracks, so don't worry, you will get it by the end.
I wonder if that will line up with my scores.
I mean, yeah, probably. Knowing that this was EDM and that that's usually a genre that works better for you, what were your expectations? Did you think you would like this album?
I mean, I did think I would like it. I think now when I listen to EDM, now that I've listened to some different genres within EDM, the big question for me is, will I like this specific style, and like what style is it close to? So that was kind of the question in my head as I was going into this. But I thought I would like it to a certain extent, unless it is something that's like Skrillex.
There's moments here and there.
There's moments for sure. We'll talk about it.
The album received mixed reviews overall, but EDM publications and audiences enjoyed it more than the general audience. It's currently rated a perfect 3 out of 5 on Rate Your Music, and is not one of the albums that have been critically reevaluated as we move further away from this era. However, the song Clarity has been reevaluated and is now considered among the best examples of the crossover between dance and pop music, and among the best songs in the festival progressive house genre. The album peaked at number 38 on the Billboard 200 and number 2 on the top dance albums chart in the US. And yes, I do know this album. I'm going to save my comments about it overall until we get through all the tracks, but this was a very important album to me, I will say that. The album was mixed by Zedd, and it was mastered by Huntley Miller and Zedd. And I said your favorite song will be Clarity if you're going the pop route, or Stash if you're going the EDM route. Your least favorite will be Fall Into the Sky, and you will give this album a 3.5 overall. And that brings us to track number 1, Hourglass, featuring Liz. This was written by Liz and Zedd and produced by Zedd. We start out with The Ticking Clock, which is a signature of Zedd. Off the top of my head, it is in Beautiful Now, Bumblebee, Stay, The Middle, Follow, Out of Time, as well as a few songs on this album. This song is a great example of the genre festival progressive house. And this was always my least favorite when I was younger, and I would always skip to the second part of it. I'm not entirely sure why, because it's actually quite good. However, it is still my least favorite on the album. A big part of Zedd's style is that there are a lot of chord changes and accidentals, and dare I say, it's almost written in a classical crossover kind of way. It's a solid song, and it's a good opener to the album, especially when it's paired with the final track, Epos. I gave this one a 3.5, and it is my least favorite. What did you think about the opening song? And were you paying attention to the track list? Because this song is one of many that blends into the next song.
I was warned
yes
by you to do that, so I was paying attention. And I gotta say, the song started and I was like, hell yeah, I love the production. And it's really, really well done. I think the beat drop is very fun.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, the vocals are solid. I will say, at some point, it did start to remind me more of dubstep. And I feel like parts of the song work less for me, but overall it does work because I don't know, I think it's just very, very well done. And the production does work for me, even though some parts of it kind of remind me of dubstep. And we're actually in agreement. This is a 3.5.
Nice.
That's not the lowest I go, but I did enjoy this. Like after I heard the song, I was like, yeah, I'm on board with this.
So it's not the lowest
I'm
you
excited.
go. Is it the highest you go?
No,
Very interesting.
we'll get there.
Track number 2, Shave It Up, written and produced by Zedd. This was the lead single, kind of. Shave It was released October 4th, 2011 by Ausla, which is Skrillex's label, and it peaked at number 4 on the Billboard Hot Dance Club Songs chart. So, yeah, cool. First thing I wrote on here, did you get confused with the track list here? It won't be the last time. I love the transition between the two songs, and the breakdown chords are so sweet. Zedd's manager and A&R Dave Renee is the one saying Shave It Up. We get Zedd's signature electric razor sounding bass, which is where the title Shave It Up comes from. This sound is a huge part of this album, and as he pivoted to more electropop-oriented music, he really phased it out. He ended up bringing it back for his song Follow, which is his collaboration with Martin Garrix, which was a huge moment in EDM. When they collaborated, it was like, oh my God, we get to the drop, and there's the electric razor bass, the Shave It bass that many people call it. And that's, kind of a fun thing, because it was, 12 years after I think that song came out. And I like this song. It's always been one of my favorites because it's just a lot of fun. It really captures the positive vibe and almost joke-like nature of EDM around this time. I gave it a 4.
But this reminded me of what I guess I would think would be played at a rave. Just I'm putting it that way because I've never been.
Definitely back in 2012. Yeah.
Maybe because of that bass. Like I feel like that adds a lot of that. I don't know, that like effect to the song. I do love a song without vocals. I feel like people kind of know that about me now. And the builds in this are awesome. And again, the production just is really good. Like I feel like even songs that I liked less, the production is always consistent in its quality. So yeah, ironically, I think this is the first time this has ever happened. I agree with you again. This is also a 4.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think this is the first time where we've had like the first 2 songs align.
That might
2 songs
be
in a row ever.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Wild.
I do think that this is where we will diverge with track number 3, Spectrum, featuring Matthew Koma. Written by John Martin, Matthew Koma, and Zedd, and produced by Zedd. This was the second single, and in some ways the lead single, because it was pushed to top 40 radio in the US. It was released June 4th, 2012, and it impacted pop radio in August. It peaked at number 10 on the US Dance Electronic chart, although it never made it to the Hot 100. It did peak at number 5 on the Bubbling Under chart, which used to matter a lot more. This was actually the first song I heard by Zedd. I've always been super interested in the radio as a concept and as a tool for labels to push new artists, so I was very into trying to find what the next big thing would be. And I remember there was a station in North Carolina that had recently flipped formats to top 40, and they would kind of play whatever, including straight up EDM, as they were trying to find their footing in the market. And this is one of the songs that they would play a lot because it had that crossover style between pop and EDM, and I loved it. There have only been a few times in my life where I heard a song and thought this is exactly what I wanted in the moment and is going to change the way I view music. And this was one of those songs/moments. I'm not as blown away by it as I was when I was younger, but I do think it remains super underrated. This is a good example of the more restrained style of complextro. The key to EDM is to find out what's happening in the drop, and that will give you the genre. And here, there's a lot of different sounds and samples mashed together to create a melody that's larger than the sum of its parts. That is the ethos of complextro. And I wrote, kind of insane that this was played on the radio. The second complextro drop is so sick. And it honestly still hits. And it's so sad we'll never get more music from Zedd and Matthew Koma. I gave this one a 4. I'm expecting less from you because you're going to say it sounds too much like dubstep.
It does remind me quite a bit of dubstep, which I don't know, I'm still not on board with. I feel like I don't know if I ever will be. There's still a lot of elements that I think do really work for me. Still a lot in the production that does work for me, but I feel like the dubstep or the elements that are close
Complextro.
to complextro is definitely at the forefront. And in general, I just don't like aggressive distortion or any distortion, honestly.
You also don't like aggressive things, like
Yeah.
aggressive music.
I'm more laid back. You can tell I'm from California. So yeah, this is a 3. Again, it's not like it's a bad song. If it came on the radio, I wouldn't skip it, but I wouldn't put it on myself. Let me just put it like that.
Is this your least favorite?
No.
Track number 4, Lost at Sea, featuring Ryan Tedder, who is a connection to Ariana Grande and Maroon 5. It was written by Ryan Tedder and Zedd and produced by Zedd. This song was originally Clarity. Matthew Como wrote the lyrics and top line of Clarity, but Zedd felt like it was too emotional and grand for such a small and kind of unchanging song. This one always used to be my favorite on the album. I love Ryan Tedder's voice, and he has such a special gift for creating choruses. It's also nice because weirdly, it feels like a quiet song to me, probably because the drop is just the chorus. I maintain that this should have been a single and gotten pushed to radio. It's super catchy. Interscope was filled with cowards. This is a 4.
I think it should have been a single over the last song. It's funny, the vocals kind of remind me of Maroon 5 a little bit.
I mean,
I don't know if it's just
Ryan
me.
Tedder wrote a few songs for Maroon 5 that were on that album. So
Maybe that's what it is.
And also, he's the lead singer of One Republic, which is in a similar style to Maroon 5's kind of pop rock stuff.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I did not realize he was the lead singer of One Republic, who I do know. This song is fun. I think in some ways it doesn't hit as hard as some of the other songs that I really like. And that includes something like the choruses, although I do think the beat drops do work for me. So ultimately this is a 3.5, but I feel like the song does come together quite well and I do enjoy it quite a bit. I also like the vocal performance. I feel like a lot of times when it comes to EDM, I prefer stuff where there are no vocals, but I like them here. And I like them quite a bit throughout the album.
Yeah, there's a lot of great singers on this album. It's time for the heavy hitter. Track number 5, the title track, Clarity, featuring Foxes, written by Matthew Coma, Porter Robinson, Skylar Grey, and Zedd, and produced by Zedd. This is the third and final single, released on November 14th, 2012. It impacted pop radio in the US in March of 2013. It peaked at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 and is certified 7 times platinum in the US. It also finished 2013 as the number 24 song in the US, and it won a Grammy for Best Dance Recording. If you were going to know any song from this album, this is the one.
I don't think I've ever heard this before.
Kind of messed up.
Yeah.
This is how I introduced the song. This is the heavy hitter on the album for sure. I've always thought it was a standout, even when it got overplayed. I think stepping away from the style so quickly in popular music allowed for that critical reevaluation that the song is going through now. I got a lot to say about this one. Strap in, people. Zedd and Porter Robinson were on what was called the Poseidon Tour together, and they decided that they should probably have an official collab outside of just being friends who were always associated with one another. And they started to work on a song called Poseidon, which was the production foundation to what is now Clarity. Somewhere along the way, Zedd added in Matthew Coma's previously recorded vocals for Lost at Sea, and he said he had a breakthrough, and that was exactly what the song needed. He had to pitch the vocals up a semitone, which ended up being near or at the top of Coma's range. Zedd also talked extensively about how he likes to essentially audition different vocalists for each song he makes, and from what I understand, this is where Skylar Grey comes in. She's both a vocalist and songwriter, but was never brought up as a writer of this song, but it's common for a vocalist who makes changes to the structure of a melody to receive a writing credit. Also, Skylar Grey's from Wisconsin, so shout out to her, and then I wrote down shout out Armenia as well, which I already did. So,
hell yeah.
Very good.
I support.
Eventually, either Zedd's manager or Matthew Coma himself introduced Zedd to Foxes, who had a minor indie hit in the UK at the time. He also said that there was only one take of the high note that wasn't in falsetto, and that is the take you hear every time in the song. And honestly, I understand why he kept using that one take because it does go crazy. And Zedd does sing on this song. He is part of the gang vocals in the drop, along with Porter Robinson, his photographer, and a few other assorted people he could find around the studio. This is another great example of a pop-leaning festival progressive house song, and unlike Hourglass, it has a big build-up to the second drop, which is an important part of festival music specifically. Once again, crazy that this was on the radio. And I said, it still goes insane almost 14 years later. It's one of those songs that, looking back, makes complete sense why I got into EDM. And if you're interested, there is a live performance of this song with the LA Philharmonic at Coachella from last year. And yes, it is beautiful.
Whoa.
I gave the song a 4.5.
Damn.
What did you think? Having never heard this, is this your favorite also?
This is not my favorite. Let me throw that out there.
Okay, interesting.
But I do like this song quite a bit. It goes very, very hard. And I think the vocal performance, again, like the last song, is really good. I think ultimately this song is a 4, but it is a little bit of a lower 4.
That's still good though.
Yeah, that's still good. And I honestly, I don't know what exactly makes it a 4 for me. All I know is that it's kind of just there. You know what I mean? Like I was trying to think of like, why do I feel like it's a low 4, but I could not find a specific reason why.
I don't know. It's a pop leaning song. It's a big single. Maybe subconsciously you've heard it
subconsciously
back in 2013 and you were like, it unlocked a memory.
I could see that. But yeah, in any case, like it is still a 4. So I do like this song quite a bit. But it actually is not my favorite. There is another song that I like quite a bit more. Let me just say that.
Oh, interesting. Well, that was the song that you would have known, and it's kind of insane that you don't. So this is one of the reasons that we do the podcast,
Yeah.
Because this album counts as the specific tag that we have in our own like internal document as David's Pop Education, because this is one of those albums where even if the other 9 songs don't matter, like you still have to know Clarity because it was one of the like defining songs of this moment in EDM and pop crossover history, I guess.
Yeah.
Now it's time to go full electronic dance music. Track number 6, Kodak, written and produced by Zedd. Dare I say the most EDM song on here? One of my favorite melodies on the album, but I'm not sure any of the drops are actually drops. I do still like it though, and I really like that it's connected to Stash. It's like a big electro house interlude between Clarity and Fall Into the Sky, which both have vocals. I gave the song a 3.5. What did you think? Instrumental.
Yeah. I had a interesting relationship with this song because the production is, I think, one of the best productions in the whole album. And the builds that are in this song go so hard. That being said, I feel like there's a lot of distortion and other elements in it that I also don't like at the same time. So it kind of, I don't know, I didn't know what to give it. It felt like more of a mixed bag for me. And I'm honestly still kind of in between a 3.5 and a 4. I do think that because of the production and because of how good the builds are, though, I'm leaning more towards a 4. And I think I'm just going to put that in there.
Okay, I was going to ask, to settle the score, are you coming back to this song or not? Because if you are coming back to it, it's a 4. If you aren't, 3.5 is what I would say.
That's the thing. I want to come back to it and listen to it more to kind of like fully understand how I feel. But I do want to come back to like listen to it some more.
I like the 4 then.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it there. Even if I come back and I'm like, you know what? I'm still keeping that 4 right now because I do want to come back.
Hell yeah.
And hey, life is fluid and things change.
Exactly. Track number 7, Stash, written and produced by Zedd. There is a vocal version of this song featuring a pop icon that we have covered this season. Can you guess who it is?
My mind right away goes to Lady Gaga.
Correct.
Hell yeah. Who
Lady
else
Gaga.
is going to be my queen?
Lady Gaga had Zedd as an opener on the Asian leg of her Born This Way ball, and he ended up producing a few songs for her 2013 album Art Pop.
Oh, hell
and
yeah.
The vocal version is quite fun. It's not like a fully complete song, but Gaga always sounds amazing on EDM songs, and it does make the song more memorable by adding a chorus about how much she loves cannabis. That is one of the lines. Cannabis is just one of the lines, so shout out.
Well, let me also say, I think she also just sounds amazing in all of her.
That is true,
like,
but
stuff.
I think there's something about female vocalists that are extremely powerful singers that just work so much better in EDM than any other genre.
That is
it's
a good
just
point.
such a special blend. Like I think of BB Rexa as well. Like some of her pop hits are like, they're okay. When she does EDM, it's like, holy shit. Like that's what she should be doing.
No, I agree.
I said that this song has awesome production. It is a combination of the 3 major genres that are on this album. We get an acid house style drop, dubstep growls, and some classic wild arpeggios. I think it's one of the most memorable songs on here. I gave it a 4, and I did say that this would be your favorite if you went the EDM route. So let's see.
Ironically, this song, and this is the reason why I decided to give Kodak a 4 too, but this song feels like Kodak to me, but just not as good.
Oh, wow.
Like, yeah, like I feel like there's maybe a little bit more in this song that I don't like than there is in Kodak. And because of that, because it kind of feels like a part 2 of Kodak that just doesn't hit as hard or something, ironically, this is a 3.5 for me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I still think that production is amazing, you know? I just feel like there's more that I don't like, and that kind of just brings it down to a 3.5. Which, hey, honestly, in some ways I feel like I could go back and forth between these two songs because they are so similar. But I feel like ultimately I would always prefer Kodak more than
I think that might be the most surprising thing about this album so far.
Yeah.
I felt really good about you liking this song.
Then again, who knows? Maybe I would change my mind.
Now, you can stand on business.
No, I'm going to stand on it obviously now, but I'm just saying, like, who knows what the future may be.
That's true. Life is fluid and all that you just said.
Life is fluid and all that, just like us, we're made of 90% fluid or whatever.
Something, yeah. Something very high.
Yeah, something like that. That's why I pee all the time. Anyways.
Shout out. Track number 8.
Shout out.
Fall Into the Sky with Lucky Date and featuring Ellie Goulding. Written by Ellie Goulding, Lucky Date, and Zedd, and produced by the latter two. This is an electro house song. It's about the vibe and the energy in the drop, and not so much the melody, because there isn't really one. That is part of the idea behind electro house. I wrote down, we need an Ellie Goulding EDM renaissance. I know Calvin Harris is always working on that, but I want more. I like the contrast between her beautiful dream-like vocals and the insanity of the drop. I predict you'll say that it didn't come together for you. Also, I feel like this is another good time for me to bring up my theory that EDM and rock are similar. This is a good headbanging song, and I feel like it would also go crazy as a rock or metal song. I gave this one a 4. And is this your least favorite?
So yes, this is my least favorite.
Let's go.
It does just feel like dubstep to me, honestly, which I don't know if it actually is.
No, it's not. It's electro house.
Yeah, but I don't know. It just feels very similar in a lot of, like, I feel like it has a lot of similarities to dubstep, and those similarities are the parts that I don't like about both styles.
It's not super melodic.
Yes,
in the
much.
drop, especially.
Yeah, which I just don't like. Again, like, a lot of it is very well done. Even the parts I don't like are well done. It's just not for me. It also does kind of feel weird hearing a voice after the last 2 songs, although that's not something that I don't like. I would just kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot that there's vocals in this album. Yeah, I know. The first time I listened, or like when I was listening through it, I was like, yeah, maybe I'll give it a 3. But honestly, I think I'm going to give this a 2.5.
Ooh, damn.
I'm kind of just going back and forth. There are honestly quite a few songs where I've been going back and forth between 2 different scores. I don't even know what to say. I'll give it a 3.
Sounds good. I do feel good that I was correctly able to identify your least favorite song, though, because
yes,
I feel like I'm a little in tune with that now, where it's like, yeah, I know you don't like when it goes crazy.
Yeah, I think you understand what I really don't like. I feel like, honestly, you understand my music tastes a little bit better than I understand your movie tastes.
I think that's fair. I am kind of, I don't know, I'm all over the place, but it makes sense to me.
Meanwhile, I feel like I'm just like, once you've heard me talk about one thing, you know what I'm going to say about everything. So
not all the time. You do surprise me. You surprised me with Ferris Bueller. I will say that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not the biggest fan of that.
It's track 9 time. Follow You Down, featuring Bright Lights. Written by Bright Lights, Philip Andrew Schwann, and Zedd, and produced by Zedd. I never liked this song when I was younger.
Oh.
I don't know what I was on, because it is now my favorite song on the album. I love Bright Lights' vocals, and that chorus is insane. I think the drop isn't as huge as I'd like it to be, but it's more of a mixing thing than anything else. The second buildup in particular is gorgeous. I think Clarity is technically the best song on here, but I decided to go with this one officially because it is the song I most want to listen to again after the album's done. So it is a 4.5. It is my favorite on here, and yes, it is track 9 theory. We are so back.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I honestly don't have much to say about this song, except for the fact that I do like this quite a lot more. It's less aggressive, which I do like. It's one of my favorites on the album, honestly. And before I listen to another song that I may have forgotten to listen to before, kind of giving it away here, but I think this was probably my favorite song before then. It's a 4.
Then this will have to be your favorite song, because technically that other extra song we're going to talk about at the end it'll be in its own little world.
Fine.
So this will be your favorite.
Fine.
And it'll be my favorite too.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah.
Which means we are in agreement.
That's awesome.
And you have a track 9 theory here too.
Yeah, I finally
which is
have
pretty
one.
fun. And what did you say this was, a 4?
Yeah, this is a 4.
Nice. Very solid.
I'm very happy with that.
We got one final track on the album, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Track number 10, Epos, written and produced by Zedd. We get another song that transitions seamlessly. The synth work on here is crazy. The melody feels ever-changing, but it also somehow loops around and is always syncopated. It almost feels like a brain exercise for musicians to try to figure out how it works. It also feels very celebratory in an end credits type of way. That final drop with the razor bass feels like what the album has been building towards the entire time. The outro has a ton of modulation and eventually finds its way back to the chords of Hourglass and introduces the ticking clock back in just to take us all the way back to the start. What a song. I also gave this one a 4.5.
This does feel kind of like a part 2 to Follow You Down, ironically.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of had the same experience that I had with Kodak and Stash, I will say, where I feel like this is the weaker song out of the kind of part 1 and part 2. I think the big reason why is this just kind of feels a little bit basic. It just doesn't feel like as developed as Follow You Down. And, you do also have some distortion going on, but, it still works for me. The production comes together and it's still at a very good 3.5, if this comes on, I'll be like, hell yeah, I'm listening to good music. So I'm happy with it.
Well, that brings us to the end of the album. But before we do our scores, I did make you listen to one additional song from the deluxe edition of this album.
That
right. Was the 4th single and the radio follow-up to Clarity. And that is track number 11, Stay the Night, featuring Hayley Williams of Paramore. Written by Benjamin Eli Hanna, who many people believed is a pen name for Nate Roos of the band Fun, Cara Faye Sharnow, Hayley Williams, and Zedd, and it's produced by Zedd. This song was meant to be in the same vein as Clarity, and Zedd talked about how he always wanted to work with Hayley Williams because he's a huge fan of Paramore, but that wasn't possible for many years because of the fear I wrote around EDM. He said that a lot of this anxiety/stigma around collaborating with DJs and producers was eased when the song Clarity really started to blow up. Which, I think is somewhat accurate. I do think David Guetta kind of paved the way for sure there, but Clarity was a big crossover hit, and then I don't want to say real artists, other artists started working with DJs, because I love EDM too, don't get that wrong. So I wanted to make you listen to this song for 3 reasons. 1, it was a single, an important radio push from this album, and it showcases the pop and dance crossover. 2, I thought there was a good chance you would recognize it from the radio. And 3, because many artists make a groundbreaking hit that unlocks all kinds of avenues for them, and then try to follow up that hit with something that sounds similar. And 90% of the time, I end up liking the follow-up song more, as I did here, because I rated this a perfect 5.
Nice. That makes me very happy.
I remember one of my religious friends in middle school said that her mom wouldn't let her listen to this song because it didn't promote Christian themes. Honestly, this should have been when I bring up the merging of rock and EDM because Hayley is literally a rock singer. So, proving my point once again. The second verse has some of my favorite instrumentation. We pull back to just piano for the first part of the second chorus, bring in everything else for the second part with backing vocals. Then we have a long build up to the drop, which only makes it hit harder. And fuck it, vocoder or talkbox on the outro, why not? It's so sick. I love this song. I rated it, obviously, a perfect 5. If it was on the original album, I would count it as my favorite from the album. This is my favorite song from this era, though. I think it's amazing. What do you think? And did you also spoil it? Do we have the same kind of bonus favorite song, too?
Let me first say that, ironically, Jennifer and I might go to see Hayley Williams later this year.
Nice.
When
That'd be sick.
Tours in Los Angeles. That would be sick. I kind of spoiled it before because, yes, this is my favorite song. It probably sounded like this to me because that's what it literally is. It sounds like a early 2010s pop song mixed into EDM. It sounds like an EDM pop song from the 2010s, pretty much.
It is.
Which is exactly what it is. Yes. And I think that's probably a big reason why I absolutely love it. Like the sound and the production just really, really work for me. And the vocals are amazing. I mean, it's Hayley Williams. What can I say? Yeah, it goes insane. I absolutely love it. This is hands down my favorite in the whole album. And I'm very sad that it's not in the actual, original album and only in the deluxe. Because this is a 4.5.
Hell yeah. Let's go. we're in agreement on our favorite song and on the bonus song being better than any of the songs on the album. That's kind of crazy. That is definitely a first because we've never had like an extra song to listen to that we both liked.
That's definitely a first, and I'm very happy about that.
We have reached the end of the album, and I want you to go first. Tell me your thoughts overall. I said you'd rate this a 3.5.
This album was definitely very interesting because it was unlike any of the other EDM experiences that we've had so far. Because obviously, like on the one hand, we've had albums like Audio Lust and Discovery, where I knew from like the first song I was gonna love it. And then we obviously had mixtapes like Skrillex's Scary Monsters and Other Sprites, which I knew I was not gonna like going into it, and I didn't. And this album was interesting because it had elements of both for sure. But ultimately, I think that in the end, it does have more in line with what I do like about EDM. And even when it comes to the songs that I don't really like they're obviously still very well done. Like there is a quality there. So it did really work for me. Before I listen to the bonus song, because to be absolutely open, I forgot to listen to it and literally listened to it right before we started recording. It's okay. I did not give away what I thought about it to Brandon. But before I heard that, I was thinking about a 3.5 for the album just because, of my scores and because there were a few songs I didn't like very much or liked less. But I was still thinking about a 4 because there are quite a lot of 4s in this album. I feel like this is one of those albums where I have more 4s. So I was going back and forth. But listening to the bonus song just fully cemented it for me. This is a 4 for me. This album is a 4.
Wow.
And I do count
Let's
that
go.
with the bonus song because I feel like, honestly, they made a mistake not putting that bonus song into the original album.
Yeah. I mean, the mistake was that Clarity wasn't a hit yet.
True.
So then he didn't have
True.
the resources, which kind of sucks. But like,
Yeah.
I'm glad it made it onto the like deluxe edition. There are 3 other songs on the deluxe edition that we didn't listen to. I don't think they're as important. There was one other single, that's fine. And then there were 2 remixes of songs by other artists that I was kind of like, we don't need to talk about them. One of them was a Skrillex song that was remixed, which is kind of fun.
Oh, that's interesting.
I thought I'd go after you because I actually bought this album back in the day.
Whoa. So it was that like influential.
Yes. And along with
Wow.
Skrillex's EP that we covered last season, it is a huge influence on my taste in EDM and my production style as a musician. I feel about this album kind of the same way I feel about The Human Condition by John Bellion, which we covered last season. It was very special and impactful to me in its time, but I'm not really sure where I would put it now in the grand scheme of everything I listen to. There are some great songs in here. It's very cohesive, but this isn't something I listen to regularly. However, I do think it is still very good. And it does get a 4 from me as well, so we are in agreement.
That's, I think, the first time we've agreed on an album in a long time.
It's been a minute, yeah. But I can't forget to ask these questions to you. Will you add any of these songs to playlists? And will you return to this album as a whole?
I mean, I will definitely add the 4s. I'm going to add Stay the Night like right away. And I'm going to,
Hell yeah.
That's probably going to be stuck in my head. These are going, I have a dance/party playlist. So I think I'm going to put a lot of these into there.
Hell
So,
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of EDM in
Nice.
that. Although I will say, speaking about Discovery, reminded me that I need to add some of those songs in there too.
For sure. Great album. And I have to ask you one final question. Do you consider yourself a fan of Zedd now?
I would say, yeah, I do like quite a lot of his stuff. I think I would need to listen to more to come to an understanding when it comes to like how big of a fan I am. But I mean, I just said I'm going to be listening to Stay the Night for like a couple of days for sure. Like it's going to be stuck in my head. And heck, if I come across an artist and I hate all their songs, but one of them gets stuck in my head like that, I will say I'm a fan no matter what. Like if you can do that, like hell yeah, I'm on board.
Damn.
Well, maybe not to that extreme, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. I'm glad we have added another notch into the EDM calendar. I don't know what to call it. EDM, another entry into the EDM notebook. That sounds better. I like this. And I'm hoping that you got a lot out of this. It sounds like you did. I know I did because it was crazy. This is the first time I've listened to this in, God, who knows how long, maybe a decade at this point. Like,
wow.
Front to back, it's been a long time since I listened to this album. I like listening to Stay the Night, and I did that a lot over the past few years, especially. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. And if you like EDM, then you should be heading on over to that Instagram because we got another EDM album coming up in a few weeks. So you might want to follow us so you can stay up to date on that because it's going to be good. And there might be a connection to somebody who we talked about today with that album too. But before we get there, we have to talk about a movie. Last year, we talked about a Spielberg movie. So this year, we thought, why not run it back and do another Spielberg movie? Because there are so many of them.
That's
and
right.
Spielberg, he's kind of a legend.
I feel like he is kind of the father of the podcast.
Father of the podcast, father of the blockbuster too. This is a blockbuster episode. So David, take it away.
We're talking about a kind of insane movie in some ways because we're talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark. And for those of you who are confused, that's the original title. I believe that's still its title today, but a lot of people think the title is Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark because all the sequels are called that.
I believe every other Indiana Jones movie is called Indiana Jones and the.
Yeah.
But this one is not. And even when you search it on Disney Plus, it does not show up as Indiana Jones and the. It's like the title is still Raiders of the Lost Ark. So
it's like the same situation as Star Wars, except they're like in retrospect, they changed the title to New Hope and added the episode 4 stuff.
True.
But here they didn't, which honestly respect. I'm happy they did not. But let's get started with the IMDb logline, and I want to hear what you think. So here goes. In 1936, archaeologist Indiana Jones is tasked by Army intelligence to help locate a legendary ancient power, the Ark of the Covenant, before the Nazis get it first.
Not too bad. I feel like you could cut out a few words here and there, but overall, I think it gets the job done.
I think it works well. Also kind of timely with that little end there. Anyways.
What, the Nazis?
They're kind of back, in case you guys haven't noticed. Anyways, this is an action-adventure film. And I guess I did get those genres from Wikipedia. Directed by Steven Spielberg, of course. It's produced by Frank Marshall, written by Lawrence Kasdan, with a story by George Lucas and Philip Kaufman. We will talk a lot about George Lucas today. The cinematography is by Douglas Slocombe. It's edited by Michael Kahn. The music is, of course, by John Williams.
Shout out.
And it's distributed by Paramount Pictures.
Very strange.
I mean, all of them were except for the new one.
Yeah, it just never really crossed my mind that Paramount made good movies at some time because pretty much my whole life they haven't.
Pretty much, I will say I feel like before 2010.
Yeah, especially. But I definitely was not paying attention to what studio was doing each movie. I just knew the Disney castle,
Yeah. I mean, I knew all the logos, but I didn't know anything about the studios themselves until I started to get into the industry and seeing who was actually running them and the decisions that they were making.
And now you're a fan of another great David Ellison.
No. Oh my God. Don't say that.
And his precursor.
Hell no.
David Zaslav.
Hell no. Let me just say this. All the Davids I do not support in the film industry.
All of them?
Not all.
Whoa.
Not all.
Okay.
But maybe the heads of the studios I don't really support.
Heads of the studios named David. Or maybe just all heads of studios.
Good point. I did want to ask, do you want to guess, or you might know this, but do you want to guess what this film is rated in terms of its
Probably PG, right? This is before the invention of PG-13?
Yes, you are correct, and you're correct that this was made before PG-13 was invented. And the sequel to this film is the reason, or one of the reasons why PG-13 exists.
Oh, wow.
Which we won't talk about it here, but we'll definitely talk about it when we watch that movie for sure. I just thought I'd throw that out there because I was intrigued by what you would say. Anyways, the movie stars Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, Paul Freeman, Ronald Lacey, and John Rhys-Davies, who we, of course, saw in Lord of the Rings. He played Gimli, and he's one of the best parts. I love him so much, and I feel like he is overlooked. I said we're going to talk about George Lucas, so let's start with him, because everything about Indiana Jones starts with him. He grew up in the 40s watching a lot of serials, and they were often action and adventure serials, and George Lucas loved these. In many ways, that's kind of what led him to make Star Wars. He kind of mixed the love for that action adventure with his love for Japanese samurai movies, and that led to Star Wars. And his love for those serials also led him to Indiana Jones, because he decided that he wanted to create a B movie following the adventures of an archaeologist that would be modeled on such adventure serials. And so he came up with the title, The Adventures of Indiana Smith.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't hit the same.
I know. Eventually, while he was working on Star Wars, he brought his ideas to his friend Philip Kaufman, who is a director and writer, and they developed the story. They worked on it a little bit, and they kind of came up with the core idea of a college professor and who was also an archaeologist adventurer. Lucas was also like, what if we make him a nightclub patron and womanizer? But Kaufman was like, let's not do that.
Okay, thank you, Kaufman.
Yes, as we will see, that's not the only interesting idea that Lucas is going to bring up. We'll talk about it more. Now, Lucas wanted Kaufman to also direct the film, but Kaufman was busy. He went on to direct The Outlaw Josie Wales. And so, without a director and Star Wars not yet released, George Lucas went on vacation during the summer of 1977 with Spielberg. And he was kind of like, oh no, my latest movie is going to come out and bomb, aka Star Wars, which became the highest grossing film ever made. And I don't have a director. But when Spielberg heard about this project, he was like, hey, I'm looking for a project after I direct my next movie in 1941. So I'm interested. So Spielberg came on board, and he brought with him Lawrence Kasdan, who was kind of his find. Kasdan had been discovered by Spielberg and had only been a professional screenwriter for something like a month. But Spielberg brought him on, and altogether they worked on the script 9 hours a day for 3 to 5 days to develop whatever Lucas had into a bigger idea that Kasdan could then write. And they did this at Lucas's assistant's house in Sherman Oaks.
Hey! Shout out Sherman Oaks.
I had to shout it out. That's right. And the ideas that were developed around this time that came up include the boulder, the monkey in Cairo. And very quickly, Kasdan realized what his job really was on this project. Pretty much, Spielberg and Lucas were going to come up with a bunch of really fun, crazy set pieces, and then he was going to have to do the hard work of actually making a story in between them. Which is maybe not the best way to write a story, but that's how they're going to do it. This is also the time when they changed the name because Spielberg absolutely hated the name Indiana Smith. So they changed it to Indiana Jones, which thank God.
Thank you, Spielberg.
Yes. Are you ready for some more interesting ideas from George Lucas?
Oh, you bet I am.
At some point, he proposed that Indiana Jones should be a kung fu practitioner and playboy, paying his way using the funds of his findings.
Sure, why not?
Spielberg and Kasdan both agreed that he was complicated enough as it is. Spielberg then had the idea to make him an avid gambler and alcoholic, which kind of crazy too, but I feel like it's a little bit more in line with like, this guy is out on adventures. Like I could kind of see it.
For sure. It's just like, why are we doing this?
Yes, it is definitely like, why are we doing that? In answer to this, though, Lucas said that he wanted Jones to be a, quote, honest and true and trusting, end quote, character. Luke, you just proposed that he's like a playboy and like, what are you doing here? Anyways.
He's honest and trusting.
Yes.
And also he's a womanizer and he does not respect anyone who is a woman.
Exactly. He does not respect women. Of course, after he said that, he proposed that Marion would have had a relationship when she was young with a much older Indiana Jones. Now, this is kind of kept in the film, but do you want to guess the age that he first proposed?
Oh, God.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, this is going to be bad.
This is really bad.
Do I guess both ages of Indiana Jones and Marion?
Just Marion.
Just Marion. Okay, I immediately thought 14.
11.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
oh God.
Yeah. Spielberg just said, quote, she had better be older, end quote.
Search his hard drive, everybody.
Yeah, I know. But I think in the final film, it is still like insinuated that she had a relationship when she was like 15, when he was like 20 or something. It's still like
that's kind of what
young.
I got. I was thinking like she seems like underage.
Yeah. No,
like completely. The way they talked about it.
Yeah,
so,
which I don't understand why they even did. Like you don't need it at all.
Maybe George Lucas is a bad guy. I don't know. I don't know much about him.
I don't know.
His obsession with womanizing is crazy too throughout this whole thing.
Yes, it's interesting. I told you there's going to be some weird stuff in here. Now, Kasdan worked hard on the script, for 5 months and eventually completed a first draft in 1978. The first draft was quite long though, so they did eventually cut it down. In some sequences, like a minecart chase ended up being put back in for the second film, for instance. But to Kasdan's frustration, a lot of the love story in the film that he had written between Jones and Marion that kind of like developed them more was cut out when this draft was cut down. And I do feel like you can kind of get that by watching the film. We will definitely discuss that.
I can see that, yeah.
But eventually they end up finalizing the script and it's done December 1979, aka like a year later. And Lucas realized that he could not fund the film himself. For those of you who don't know, after the success of the first Star Wars, he kind of started making his own films. They were like kind of independent films, except for the fact that they were giant at the same time. But he did not really have enough money to make this by himself. So eventually, Paramount president Michael Eisner, who we have talked about before.
Wow.
Yep. I did not realize that he was running Paramount at this time.
No, me neither.
Yeah. He decided to take on the film. He negotiated with Lucas and Spielberg and gave them a $20 million budget. They also mandated a schedule of 85 days, while Spielberg and Lucas, both of them had a lot of issues with going over schedule, decided to set a schedule for themselves at 73 days. Now, I'm going to throw out some names of people that were considered for Indiana Jones. I want to hear your thoughts for who you know. Some of these names you do know for sure. Some of the people who were considered include Bill Murray.
Interesting. Don't see it.
Steve Martin.
Oh, also I can see it a little bit more, but I don't see it still.
Still don't see it, yeah. Chevy Chase.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that would not have worked at all.
That wouldn't end well. Wouldn't start well either.
Just the whole process would not be good. And Jack Nicholson.
I've heard of him. Don't know anything about him.
The feeling he gives off is a little too sinister, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, Harrison Ford really does have that like charm to him, even if he is kind of like a dirtbag sometimes, you know?
It's like he's the lovable dirtbag kind of.
Exactly. Like Han Solo.
Exactly. That's why it works. Someone else that was also considered was Tom Selleck, but he could not come on board because he was busy with Magnum P.I., which of course kind of made him a star. Spielberg thought that Ford would be perfect for the film, but Lucas actually did not want to cast him because of two reasons. A, Ford was, of course, very famous now with the success of Star Wars, and Lucas wanted someone that wasn't as famous. And B, Lucas was afraid that him hiring Ford would make the perception that he needed Ford to be successful. Like he was dependent on Ford to hand him box office successes. Yeah. But Ford really loved the project. Unlike Star Wars, which he kind of seemed to hate from the get-go. Yeah. He was just on board. And so he was like, hey, like I want to do it. And so they brought him on. And he underwent a vigorous exercise regime and practiced with the bullwhip. One of the first things that Spielberg asked Karen Allen in her audition meanwhile was, quote, how well do you spit? End quote. I think it's for the scene where you see her spit or something.
That's
in the film.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And he was very impressed by her professionalism. She, and this is very interesting to me, she had also created a backstory for her character, including the fact that she had had a relationship with Jones when she was 15 to 16. And interestingly enough, Spielberg told her that it belonged in another film. So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
let me just throw that out there.
Fully understand.
Getting very
cool.
I don't know if anyone was on the same page, kind of. And I feel like that kind of makes it hard to be like, who came up with this?
Yeah, it seems like they all kind of like came up with the same idea at the same time.
Yeah, which is like, why?
Yeah, I don't know that we need a 15-year-old to be in a relationship with a probably late 20-something at this point.
That is something that has no place in film, like ever. Let's just say that. In any case, production began in 1980 and would shoot everywhere from La Rochelle to Tunisia to Hawaii to England. And because of the tight schedule, Spielberg had to kind of run a tight ship and couldn't have too many takes. And he said that this kind of helped him because it kept the film from becoming pretentious and kept it very grounded, which I do kind of like.
Yeah.
Now, filming in Tunisia was difficult. The temperature was often over 130 degrees.
Holy shit.
And most of the cast and crew got dysentery.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oregon
fun.
Trail type beat.
That's right. Spielberg did avoid this because he would only eat and drink foods that he had brought with him from England.
Okay, sure. Bougie.
Yeah. Ford, meanwhile, got it so bad that he could only shoot for a short period of time. And because of this, in the scene where you have like the swordsman in Cairo, like challenging him to a duel, he was supposed to originally like have a sword fight with him, but because he felt so bad, he just went to Spielberg and was like, hey, can I just shoot him? And Spielberg was like, sure. So that's why it is like that in the film.
That's one of the funniest moments of the film, I think.
That moment, I think, brings like some levity to the film. Like that makes the film fun. So I'm very happy that they did that. Meanwhile, while they're shooting in Hawaii, all the crew got bitten by mosquitoes because they were shooting right next to the mosquito breeding ground.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes.
That's very nice.
That's right. I'm kind of just throwing out different things because there's a lot of stuff and I'm kind of cutting through a lot of it. But let's jump to the monkey meanwhile, because that was another issue because they were having trouble getting it to do the Nazi salute. Yes.
Oh my God. That is
It's crazy
insane.
that like this is the thing that they were struggling, you know, like
Oh my God. It knows.
it knows. It's like, I don't want to do that. You guys are crazy. Let me tell you about some of the ways that the trainer tried to get it to do it. The first thing he did was hit it on the head to try and get it to touch the affected area and do the salute like that.
Very nice.
Which, sir, why is that the first thing you jump to?
Gotta do it. I think that's why PETA's involved with like every animal rights thing in Hollywood now.
Honestly, yeah. Because they're just like, oh, what should we do? Just hit it on the head.
Just hit it on the
That
head.
works. Yeah,
So it
just
does the
beat it up.
Nazi salute. Jesus Christ.
Of course, when that didn't work, they just dangled the grape above its head, which is like, that's probably what you should have done in the first place.
Yeah, that sounds like step one.
And they did get the salute from this, but it took 50 takes.
Oh my God.
Yes, that monkey was just like, nope, I do not want to do it. Now let's talk about the stunts, because I feel like that's kind of important. In general, I want to throw out that Ford did most of, if not all of his stunts. So kudos to him, especially considering that there's like a lot of actually dangerous stuff here. The Peruvian temple was built life-size, and the boulder was operated using a concealed rod behind it. And Ford was doing the boulder stunt himself. He was running in front of it as it was coming behind him. And he did it a total of 10 times, which
Whoa.
is a lot. Yeah. And Spielberg himself said that it was stupid to have him do that stunt, but it just did not look right with a stuntman, which... yeah. As for the tarantulas, they were male and so docile that they would not move at all, and it looked like they were literally dead. So, what did the production come up with?
Oh God.
They got a female tarantula and added
I knew it.
the female tarantula in to try and make them like move around and like go after her. I don't think it really did anything, but still.
Well, see, they didn't think the first thing they have to do is smack it on the head. They were like,
True,
let's get it
and
a
make
mate.
it bite. Meanwhile, for the Well of Souls scene, they had to initially delay it because they did not have enough snakes. Then they got 6,000 to 10,000 snakes.
Whoa.
I know, but they also had to delay again because now they didn't have anti-venom.
Jesus.
They finally got anti-venom and were able to shoot the scene. Now, I know I brought up anti-venom. Most of them were not venomous, and any of the venomous snakes did have like a glass between them and the actors, which would not be visible, obviously, on screen. Even so, Karen Allen was so scared that she couldn't even scream on cue. Although she did eventually get used to them after a couple of days.
A couple of days. Jesus.
Yes, after like 3 days or so. They were shooting with them for a while. And I will say, someone did stand in for her. The snake handler, Steve Edge, would wear a dress and stand in for her feet shots.
Shout out.
Shout out.
I do want to say the anti-venom thing just reminded me of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, how somebody put down the bottle of acid next to the guy's drink. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I do see how it is possible now.
Yeah.
I still don't know why they had acid on that movie set.
Hey, you know,
but this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, I could see somebody making a mistake.
they just got crazy stuff on sets all the time. Like, I don't know how, it's kind of wild to me how more people didn't die back then. Let me just throw that out there.
No, honestly, it is. It's
Like,
kind of
what
insane.
are you guys doing? It's wild. So, yeah. Speaking of someone almost dying, do you remember the fist fight right next to the plane?
Yes.
Well, when the plane was moving, it actually rolled over Ford's foot.
Oh.
He was all right, though, because the wheel had grown soft in the Tunisian heat. If it hadn't, though, he probably would have left it, or probably would have lost his leg.
Damn, it's so
That's
hot
fun.
the plane is melting. That's
Yes.
fucked up.
It literally, like, the heat saved this man's leg.
How are you supposed to act in that? Like, I wouldn't even be alive anymore, I don't think.
And he's also doing, like, a fist fight. He's not even, like,
And he's wearing like a full outfit too.
yeah, it's
Jesus.
wild. I don't know how they did all that.
That is one of those ones where it's like, how did he not get like heat stroke and die
Yeah.
in the desert?
No, literally.
Like,
It's
oh my God.
Again, how did more people not die on this set? Now, I did want to briefly bring up the special effects. I'm not going to get into them too much just because you can find amazing videos that show you the behind the scenes with how they made those special effects. So if you want to find out more, I highly recommend you go and watch those. But ILM, which made the effects for Star Wars, did make the effects for this film, including the Ark. And I found this funny, so I thought I would include it. For the ghost that comes out of the Ark, a Lucasfilm receptionist was put in a white robe and suspended in front of a blue screen. I can just imagine going into work. Yeah, and they're like, hey, can you you want to hang from here in a white robe for a little while?
That'd be sick
That's
as hell,
fun.
though. You get to tell your friends and family, hey, look at this. Go watch this massive blockbuster. I'm in it. I'm the ghost.
One of the biggest movies ever made. Yeah. Now the exploding and shrinking heads were created using things such as bladders, colored gelatin, plaster skulls, and more. And Belloc's death was so extreme that the MPAA wanted to give the film an R rating.
Whoa.
So what did they do? They just superimposed flames on top of his head in the scene to hide it a little bit. And MPAA was like, oh yeah, great, kids can watch this now.
Shout out.
Filming did last for 73 days.
Hey.
And Spielberg said that this movie had the least number of problems. Which,
Wow. I mean, yeah,
that's interesting.
I guess so.
Out of
We
all
talked
of his
about
movies, yeah.
Jaws as well. That had a lot of problems.
Oh God, don't remind me of that production. And so, following a 2-month post-process, Spielberg took his initial 3-hour cut of the film down to 2 hours. And so, the film was released. It came out June 12th, 1981, and became a smash hit. It made $389 million against a $20 million budget. So,
Jesus. Yeah.
giant hit, especially when you take inflation into account. That's probably 700, 800 million,
Yeah.
if not more. It also received critical acclaim from critics. A lot of people called it an instant classic adventure film and also a return to form for Spielberg. His last film, 1941, was a disaster commercially and critically. And at the 54th Academy Awards, it was nominated for Best Picture, Director, Cinematography, Music, Original Score. That's how it was put back then. Don't know why. Sound, Art Direction, Film Editing, and Visual Effects. And it would
Wow.
win. It got nominated for a lot. It would win Sound, Film Editing, Visual Effects, and Art Direction.
It's always crazy to me when movies like this are nominated for Best Picture, because you look at the Best Picture nominees now and it's like, these are mostly movies that aren't like blockbusters and movies that like no one has seen outside of the film bros.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, we could just do that. Like we used to make good blockbusters.
I know. I think the big reason is blockbusters were, like you said, generally better films, and they were films that could have a lot of artistry in them. And B, in some ways, I feel like even though the Academy would never nominate like a horror film, for instance, back then, they seem to be okay with nominating stuff that's maybe a little bit more for the regular guy. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Kind of feels like now, even though they've embraced some genres a little bit more like horror, which I'm very happy to see, it's definitely become much more of an award for the prestige film.
And I think also a big part of it is that there are just too many blockbusters now, which I know we've talked about a lot on the podcast.
Yes.
Like back in the day, this would be like an event film. And now it's like you got an event film like every 2 weeks.
The reason why blockbusters were blockbusters back then in the 80s, 90s, and even in the early 2000s was because there were like at most like 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah.
So you only had like 2 or 3 opportunities to see a giant film in theater. So it was truly an event. But once people started seeing how much money you can make from these films, they started making more until now every movie is a blockbuster. So none of them are. So yeah, it's really stupid. I think we need to bring back mid-budget films, which I think...
We've been saying this.
I think it is coming back a little bit, honestly. I think this year you can kind of see it, which makes me very happy. And of course, with inflation, I do feel like $100 million budget is getting closer to mid-budget, although it's still not mid-budget. It's still big budget.
Sadly, yes. Yeah.
But I mean, hey, that's just kind of the state of the industry right now. But things are cautiously improving when it comes to features, although TV is still dying in some ways.
TV, I'm sure you saw the CBS news, which is very disappointing that no longer are there 22 episode seasons
so idiotic.
For their procedural shows. We're at 15
if
now.
The procedural shows are getting cut, you know things are bad.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah.
I fear for the future of TV, and that's my medium that I love. Like, I like movies, and doing the podcast has made me appreciate them so much more than I ever did before. But TV is still my heart. Like, I love sitting down and watching like hours.
I mean, TV is also my heart. Films is just my smaller
heart. My extra heart that's on the other side of my heart. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But you were saying...
I mean, to jump back to Raiders of the Lost Ark, it has cemented itself as a classic. It obviously spawned a franchise, which includes a theme park ride, which I do love very much. And it's considered a touchstone of modern cinema and modern adventure films. And it's considered one of the best adventure films ever made, if not one of the best films overall. And Spielberg himself considered this to be the best Indiana Jones film, which I respectfully disagree with. But anyways, we'll get there.
It's the one from 2 years ago, isn't it, that you love the most?
Hell no.
The one that cost like $490 million to make or something like that.
And made like $100 million. Oh, God. Yeah. The film, incidentally, led to a sharp rise in students studying archaeology. Probably because they thought they're going to be running through maps like this and stuff like that.
That's kind of fun.
And of course, in 1999, the Library of Congress selected the film to be preserved in the National Film Registry for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And with that, I wanted to ask, considering that we have at this point seen 2 Spielberg films, what expectations did you have going into this? And did it line up with those expectations at all?
I can answer this very simply. I had very high expectations, and this was easily the worst Spielberg movie we've watched of the 3.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Something I will not disagree with at all. I guess I'll jump to my next question and save my thoughts for the end, because I feel like this next question honestly ties into a big reason why both of us maybe like this film less. And that is, do you think that this film has aged well with time?
You know,
especially comparing it to other Spielberg films.
You know, not particularly. I mean, I feel like there's something we haven't talked about this season, and it's come up a few times, which is white actors playing non-white characters. And I feel like, you know, it's a good time to mention it now. That happened in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I know there was another one that had happened in too that somehow we never brought up.
True.
But that's always kind of one thing where it's like, I don't know how to feel about this. I mean, I do know how to feel about it, and I don't like it, even if they are a good actor. Outside of that, I think with Jurassic Park and with Jaws, there is a level of emotional core to the movie, and there is a level of sophistication in the story that I just don't think either are present here. And that's kind of what I was thinking would be here because, now I have expectations around Spielberg.
Yeah, no,
And
100%.
His two movies that we've watched have been movies that I didn't think I would like and ended up really enjoying. So that was kind of the biggest thing where I was like, it just didn't really like hit like any emotional beats that I really wanted it to. It's still interesting. It's still like fun as an adventure film of like he's doing a bunch of stuff and it keeps you engaged. Like all the Spielberg stuff is there where it's like he knows how to make a good movie. And there are parts of this that feel like a good movie, but overall I just don't think it necessarily is one.
No, I
sadly.
completely agree. And I'm honestly going to kind of use this as a jumpstone into my thoughts. So for reference, I watched this film as a kid. I watched all the Indiana Jones that had come out at that point, which was the first 4. I enjoyed them. Of course, to varying degrees, some of them were better, some of them were worse. But I thought that they're just very fun, adventure films. And it's interesting because I definitely had not seen that many Spielberg films up to that point, and I've definitely seen more now. But coming back to this now, I was, of course, comparing it to films like Jaws and Jurassic Park, and of course, my favorite film of his, E.T. And I completely agree. What I found to be most lacking was kind of an emotional core to the film. Something to draw me in and hold me like emotionally rather than just, oh, this is fun. And reading about how the script was written, where it was just a bunch of set pieces kind of cobbled together, I was like, yeah, you can totally see that.
That and the fact that this is this writer's presumably first or second script. I mean, like,
yeah.
I feel like, I don't want to say you can tell because I don't know that you always can, but it does feel like something that isn't as like, there's not as much of a vision there.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. I think taking into consideration what he has written, I do think it's more like what he was being asked to do rather than his skills. Although I can definitely see it.
True.
Maybe in the hands of someone with more experience, they would be able to turn it into something more.
Or to say, hey, Spielberg, hey, George Lucas, shut the fuck up and let me do my job.
No, 100%. No, but it's interesting because this film, like, it just feels like it feels old.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it feels a little slow.
Jaws feels like it could have been made in like the late 80s or early 90s, despite it being made in the 70s. This feels like it was probably made in the 70s, even though it was the 80s.
Well, honestly, this feels like it was almost made in the 60s to me in some ways.
I could see that
like
too.
Even older. Yeah. And I do think a big reason why this film does not work as well is maybe partially the input of George Lucas in some ways, because look, I think he is one of the best filmmakers when it comes to world building and developing like the grander ideas. But I do think a lot of times when he gets down to the granular levels, like he has a very simplistic take of things, which is not necessarily bad. But I do definitely feel like you can see that here. And that's something that you can see, for instance, with some of the Star Wars films that he directed himself, for instance. So I do think that maybe that's a reason why when you compare this to some of Spielberg's other stuff that he made around this time, it does feel more like that. I do want to say, before everyone comes and attacks me, I don't hate this film. I don't even think it's bad or like terrible or even just I do really enjoy this film. It's fun. The action is really well done. And I think there's a lot to enjoy. But ultimately, it does just feel kind of like a dated film that your grandfather would join you, which you would just be like, yeah, fine, whatever. I'm just going to watch it with my grandfather. But I'm honestly don't really feel the need to come back to this. And I mentioned before that another one of the Indiana Jones films was my favorite. And that is the third film, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And thinking back to it, I obviously didn't rewatch it. It's been a long time. But something that I always loved about that film was the relationship between Indiana Jones and his father that's presented in that film. And thinking back to the way I've always thought about that relationship, I honestly feel like that film brings that emotional core because of that relationship. And I think that's why that is my favorite Indiana Jones film. Like, I feel like there's maybe something a little bit more there that isn't present here. Those are kind of my thoughts. It's at a 3.5 right now. I feel like a large part of that is my nostalgia for the film and for Indiana Jones. And honestly, my nostalgia for the theme park ride, because it's an S tier theme park ride. Let me just throw that out there. So that's why it is at a 3.5. I think as a film, it would be more at a 3, but I'm kind of thinking of just keeping it at 3.5 for my own nostalgia's sake.
Interesting.
Just to be totally clear.
I'm going to just start with my score.
Yeah, go for it. I'm guessing 2.5.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to talk about, because this should be a 2.5, but I feel like Spielberg is just so good that it's a 3.
Oh, hell yeah. Okay, so I feel like we're kind of on the same page in that sense.
Weirdly, yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like an amazing film. It's not the most like rewatchable thing, but I also didn't ever think like I'm not enjoying myself. Like, it was still interesting the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's a Spielberg thing.
It keeps you engaged. I think that's why it does end up working more than not.
For sure. Yeah. But overall, like, I didn't really write anything down about this movie because I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, it's not as good as I thought it would be. And that's like about it. Like, I can't point to anything specifically where I'm like, well, this isn't as good as I thought it would be, because like there isn't anything where it's like, well, this sucks. You know, like the story's just like fine. The acting is fine. Although I will say Harrison Ford is quite good, and I do like him in this role.
He is good. Yes. I think that he makes a lot of it work too. Just saying that.
Oh,
Just
for
saying that
sure.
out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think this would work if we had, I don't know, Jack Nicholson is the only name I'm remembering right now.
Or
But
Chevy Chase.
Chevy Chase, yeah, absolutely not.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But like pretty much everything about this movie is done at an acceptable level. And that's just like, you know, and it's fine. However, there is one thing that is done at a amazing level, and that is the music by John Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit, is it good? And that was the moment, like when I was watching this and hearing the music, I was like, yeah, this feels like a Spielberg film because of John Williams and because of how good he is at making you like pay attention to everything with the music, because the music is catchy. You remember it. It gets stuck in your head.
That's why he's one of the best.
And that's good. And it still like allows you to focus on everything else going on in the film. It's just like, yeah, he is just at another level when it comes to film composing.
Just wait till we get E.T. That's all I'm going to say.
I didn't know John Williams did E.T. too.
I mean, he did, I think, all of Spielberg's films, honestly.
Pretty much like, yeah, almost all of them. And he did like all of George Lucas's films too.
Pretty much, yeah, honestly. No, and I think E.T. is honestly one of his more underrated scores.
Yeah, I definitely have not heard it. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know about it. So, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of all we have to say about
I think
Raiders
so.
of the Lost
Like,
Ark, huh?
it's kind of underwhelming of us like talking about it, but at the same time, the movie is kind of underwhelming too. It's just kind of like,
there's not much to say.
Exactly. And I also do want to mention one last thing, which is Disney Plus might be the worst streaming service ever.
Happy I don't have it.
I watched this movie on Disney Plus. Holy shit. Half the movie, the audio just didn't sync up with the video, and there was nothing you could do about it because that's just what Disney Plus is. And once it like goes to an ad break, well, it's all broken now, and you're just gonna have to watch it, and it's gonna be off, and it sucks. And I also don't understand how Hulu is like the best and Disney Plus is the worst, because it's the same company. Like, you know.
Well, now Hulu's going to be on Disney Plus, so it's going to be bad too.
Yeah, which I whatever. Disney does not know what they're doing, unfortunately. And sadly, we're going to have to watch a Disney movie in a few weeks again. So hint, hint, check that Instagram to figure out what Disney movie it is.
Yeah.
And maybe you can rent it from your local library too, because you also hate Disney Plus like me. And on that note, I think we have reached the end of the episode. I would consider it a success. I think Dangerous Woman and Jurassic Park was probably better because we both liked Dangerous Woman a lot, and we both liked Jurassic Park way more than this movie. But I feel like this is a good follow-up in our series of doing a Memorial Day blockbuster film. And, you know, maybe we'll do it again next year too. I mean, spoiler, we're going to, so.
Hint, hint. Yeah, no, we're definitely going to. And I will say, I do think our next Spielberg film will be much more of a success for you. It definitely is for me.
Yes,
Just
that
throwing
is
that out
what
there.
I am imagining. And if you want to find out what that movie is, 1 week before that episode comes out, then you have to head on over to that Instagram at Uncultured Pop Culture. It's listed in our link tree below in the episode description. That link tree is also on our Instagram bio. It links to our Rate Your Music. It links to our Letterboxd. It links to our TikTok and our YouTube, which we have all of these amazing videos coming out. So you might want to check that out. And David, if they want to support the show, how can they do that?
The ways that you can support our show include A, liking and reviewing, B, telling your friends, your family,
and anyone you know who is named after a state.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. C, following us on all our socials, liking, supporting us there, because that helps us drive engagement and helps our podcast get out to more people. Last of all, Brandon, how can they get in touch with us if they want to yell at us or tell us how they agree that Marion being 15 and dating a 20-year-old is not good?
That would be upcpod@gmail.com. But we'll be back next week. Maybe we'll be back with someone special too. So if you want to find out who that is, you got to head over to that Instagram. But until then, we will see you next week.
See ya.